Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share a story that begins with humiliation but ends with triumph, compassion, and justice. It is a story that reminds us that sometimes, what others mean for our destruction becomes the very fuel that carries us to greatness. It is a story of a child who was told she did not belong, only to grow into a woman who built a place where thousands could finally belong. More than 20 years ago, in the luxurious garden of a sprawling mansion, a small 9-year-old girl named Luna was twirling in dance. She was innocent, full of joy, and simply sharing a moment of laughter with her little friend Sophie, who happened to be the daughter of a very wealthy man. Sophie, at only 7 years old, was confined to a wheelchair, but Luna's presence brought her a kind of joy that her father's riches could not buy. Yet in the midst of that simple dance, thunder struck not from the sky but from the voice of David Morrison, Sophie's father. He shouted across the garden with such contempt that Luna froze in place. His words cut deeper than any blade. He declared that Luna, the daughter of his housekeeper, had no manners, no right to stand beside a child of his social class. He demanded she be removed immediately, reducing her to nothing more than an intruder in the eyes of wealth. Her mother, Carmen, rushed out from the kitchen, hands wet from dishwater, heart racing with shame. She apologized frantically, but Morrison did not care. He reminded her that she had been hired to clean, not to allow her daughter to disturb people above her station. In that moment, a line was drawn not just in words but in power, privilege, and cruelty. Luna's eyes filled with tears, yet deep within those eyes was something far greater than sorrow. There was a seed of determination. While her mother pulled her away, head bowed, Luna looked back one last time. She saw Sophie, arms stretched out, crying for her friend, while David pushed the wheelchair into the house with irritation. That single moment of rejection would burn into Luna's memory for the rest of her life. Her mother tried to comfort her in the kitchen afterward. She said, "Some people are born thinking they are better than others, but remember, those with a good heart always find a way to shine." Luna took those words and engraved them in her heart. She knew she was humiliated, but she also knew she would never forget. She carried that fire through every hardship, every sleepless night, every challenge. 2 decades passed. Luna was no longer the timid little girl dancing in a garden where she was told she did not belong. She was now Dr. Luna Rodriguez, one of the youngest and most accomplished pediatric neurosurgeons in the country. She specialized in paralysis, a field she had chosen not by accident but by purpose. Every child she helped walk again was a quiet victory against the memory of David Morrison's cruelty. But life has a way of bringing stories full circle, and fate placed in her hands the most ironic of twists. For one day, while reviewing files at the hospital, she saw a name that froze her in place: Sophie Morrison. Now grown, Sophie was suffering from a degenerative neurological condition that threatened to paralyze her completely. The surgery she needed was rare, complex, and only one surgeon in the country was qualified to perform it, Luna herself, and the emergency contact on the file: none other than David Morrison. Luna dialed the number. On the other end, David's voice sounded older but still carried the arrogance she remembered. He recognized her name faintly, and when she reminded him who she was, the cleaning lady's daughter, silence filled the line. She told him calmly that she was now the only person who could save his daughter's life. In that moment, the man who had once believed himself untouchable realized he was at the mercy of the very child he had humiliated. For the first time in his life, he felt what it was like to need someone he had dismissed as unworthy. 3 days later, David arrived at the hospital dressed in wealth, carrying the same arrogance. He demanded to speak only to directors, not to subordinates. But the hospital staff knew who truly held power there, and soon he was seated face to face with the doctor he had once ordered out of his garden. Luna, however, was not fueled by hatred. She was fueled by purpose. She did not need to humiliate him in return. Reality itself had done that already. She simply laid the truth before him. Without her, his daughter had no chance. But Luna was also wise. She reached out to an old friend, now a powerful lawyer, and began quietly building a case against David Morrison's decades of exploitation. While Sophie lay in a hospital bed begging for help, David's sins of the past rose to the surface: wage theft, mistreatment of domestic workers, blacklisting employees to ensure they never found stable jobs again. The very system he had used to destroy lives was now unraveling before his eyes. And Sophie, his beloved daughter, began to see the truth of who her father really was. She discovered articles about Luna's journey, her brilliance, her sacrifices, her triumphs. And then she made the connection: Luna was the same girl who had once danced with her in the garden. Her admiration for Luna grew, and her respect for her father diminished with every revelation. When Luna finally confronted David in the hospital room, she was calm, professional, almost serene. She placed the evidence on the table, revealing years of cruelty hidden behind corporate walls. She spoke not with anger but with truth. She told him that while he had used his power to destroy, she had used hers to heal. And then she made the most powerful declaration: she would save Sophie, not because David deserved it, but because Sophie did. She would not let the sins of a father condemn the life of a daughter. She had become a doctor to heal, not to hate. The surgery was a success. Sophie regained full use of her legs. She not only recovered, but she flourished, becoming an advocate for workers' rights, determined to break the cycle her father had built. She partnered with Luna to create programs that uplifted domestic workers' families, turning their shared past of humiliation into a present of empowerment. Meanwhile, David Morrison's empire collapsed under the weight of truth. He faced lawsuits, bankruptcy, and ultimately prison. His mansion, once a symbol of exclusion, was transformed into a shelter and foundation for families who had once suffered the same injustices Luna's family endured. The same garden where Luna had been told she did not belong became a place where every child, no matter their background, was welcome to dance freely. And Luna, she did not stop there. She established scholarships for children of domestic workers, ensuring that their dreams could flourish where once opportunities had been denied. She created an institute in her mother's name, carrying forward Carmen's wisdom that those with good hearts will always shine. Her story spread across nations, inspiring countless young people who had been told you cannot to transform those words into I will. She became proof that adversity can be the sharpest tool for carving greatness. And when David, broken and defeated, received her letter, he finally understood the depth of his failure. He had tried to crush a child, but instead, he had forged a woman whose legacy would outlive his fortune, his name, and his power. This story is not merely about revenge, it is about the choice of what to do with pain. Some let pain destroy them, others let it harden them into cruelty. But the greatest among us, like Luna, transform pain into purpose. They understand that true victory is not found in bringing enemies to their knees, but in rising so high that those enemies become irrelevant against the backdrop of greatness. Luna's triumph was not only professional, it was moral. She did not simply surpass the man who had humiliated her, she built a new world where others would never have to endure the same humiliation. That is the essence of true transformation. To stand tall not by lowering others but by lifting them. To prove that dignity, compassion, and justice are stronger than cruelty, arrogance, and power built on exploitation. To create a legacy where the very stones thrown at you become the foundation of something greater. And so, when we reflect on this journey, we must ask ourselves what we will do with the injustices we face. Will we let them silence us, or will we let them propel us? Will we repeat the cycle of cruelty, or will we, like Luna, turn that cruelty into a reason to build a better world? Her life shows us that no matter how small or powerless we may seem, within us lies the ability to transform even the harshest humiliation into the greatest triumph. She was told she was not good enough to stand beside the wealthy. Today she stands above them, not in arrogance but in service. She was told she did not belong in their social world. Today she belongs to a greater world, the world of humanity, compassion, and progress. And every young person who hears her story learns this truth. Our worth is never defined by those who try to diminish us. Our worth is defined by what we build from the ashes of their doubt. Luna's story is living proof that when you carry determination in your heart, no humiliation can stop you, no insult can limit you, and no injustice can chain you. Instead, those very obstacles become the fire that forges resilience. And resilience, when paired with compassion, becomes unstoppable. So let us leave here today inspired not only by Luna's brilliance but also by her spirit. Let us remember that true greatness does not come from privilege but from perseverance. It is not inherited, it is forged. And when history remembers Luna Rodriguez, it will not remember her as a girl humiliated in a mansion's garden. It